Okay guys, so the title for Black Clover Chapter 304 has been leaked, and the title is actually going to be Reality and Magic. And while we're still waiting on the summary and images to be leaked for this week's chapter, we can assume with a fantastical title like that the focal character for the chapter, or at the very least set up at the ending of the chapter to be the focal character for the next few, will be the Sleeping Beauty of the Clover Kingdom, Dorothy. Which, Dorothy being the one to actually make her grand reappearance in this chapter, would be a very welcome thing for a lot of fans and at the same time to be expected. Because as you guys know, with the ending of last week's chapter, we finally put to bed the 17-year-long feud between Megikua and the Silva family by having Noelle and Nozel team up together to finally kill her off, releasing Aesir's spirit so that she can finally rest in peace. And with that fight finally over, we all assume that the next few chapters will focus mostly on the fight between Yuno and Langris versus Xenon and his devil, which it makes perfect sense that if this actually will be the focus fight for the next few chapters, that Dorothy makes her grand appearance here. Because as you remember, the last time we saw Dorothy was back in chapter 275, when we had the three groups break apart to each go after one of the Dark Tribe members. Now, back then, Dorothy was actually in the group that was going along with Charlotte and Rill, while Nozel was actually in the group that was going with Yuno and Langris. But as you know, on their way to their Dark Tribe opponents, Dorothy, Fugoyan, and Nozel each had to separate from their groups in order to fight off against Dark Apostles that were standing in their way. Now, since then, we've seen Fugoyan show back up to help out on the outside of the castle when it comes to fighting off against the devils that were attacking civilians. And then Nozel showed up in chapter 302 and 303 to help Noelle defeat Megikua. And since Nozel was originally part of Yuno's group, but he switched off to go and fight the opponent that Charlotte and Rill were supposed to take out, it would make sense that since Dorothy was originally part of Charlotte and Rill's group, that she would go off and help Yuno and Langris fight off against their opponent. And while none of this is actually confirmed, as I mentioned already, we don't have the summary or even the leaked images to go off of for this chapter to confirm my theory, it does make sense that she would show up, and like I said earlier, would be a very welcome thing for us fans, because as we already know, Dorothy is a vastly powerful character, and I for one have been dying to see her in an actual fight. I mean, we got to see a glimpse of what she's capable of doing back during the Elf Resurrection arc, and even in the anime when we had the captains fighting against each other, but we've never seen her really in a life or death battle. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what she's capable of doing against a high-ranking devil, like we assume that Xenon's devil is. As of right now, we still don't know exactly what his devil is or what his name is, so we don't know exactly what his ranking is, if it's anywhere near as high-ranking as Megikua and Lucifero, or maybe if it falls in the lower rankings around the same level as Love and Nama. But regardless of the ranking that Xenon's devil has, I think it's safe to assume that we could all agree that Dorothy re-entering the fight is actually going to be a very welcome thing to come in the next chapter. But Dorothy finally making her grand return is not the only prediction I have for this upcoming chapter, because as we know with the ending of chapter 303, we seemingly left things off on a very happy note. But there are two major plot holes that are left hanging over our heads. The first is that a majority of the cast that was a part of this fight are heavily injured, with one on the verge of death, where he is only alive right now because of the effects of a spell. And the second one is that while Megikua is dead, we never got confirmation that with her death, all the curses that she used were lifted, which means that we still don't know what the fate of Lord Pratika is, because during the fight, she had used her curse magic to actually transform Lord Pratika into a devil. And as of right now, we still don't know if she's actually been turned back into a human, or if she's actually had that curse lifted off of her, or even the original curse that we started this war in order to solve has been lifted or not. So yeah, those are two major things that chapter 304 will have to address at some point, whether it be in the beginning of the chapter or near the end of it. And I actually have two easy fixes for that, and actually involves bringing back two characters that have not really been that relevant in the story so far, but might actually show their relevance in this upcoming chapter. So starting with my prediction as to how Tabata plans on healing everyone and saving Gaja's life in the next chapter, basically, as I mentioned in a lot of my other reviews, I believe that the ultimate magic that Mimosa learned while she was training with the elves was actually the ultimate healing magic. Because even though Mimosa has proven herself to be a capable fighter throughout the series, a majority of her major roles in every single arc that she's been involved in has revolved around her being the main healer. And even in her first appearance post the time skip, the first thing we get to see her do is use a brand new healing spell. So based on her track record as being the main healer for the group, I can imagine that Tabata will actually have her show up in the next chapter in the beginning of it to heal off everybody and basically save Gaja's life, because with her ultimate magic, I believe that even she could bring him from the verge of death back to being fully healed and back in the fight. Okay, so yo, real quick guys, I was actually in the middle of editing this video when the first leaked image for this week's chapter came out, and the image just confirmed that Mimosa will be showing up to heal Gaja, Real, and Charlotte. And in the image, we do get to see her using what looks like her ultimate magic, which involves a brand new version of her princess healing robe. So yeah, chalk me up for being hyped as hell for predicting this ahead of time. And hey, even if you don't believe that I recorded this video prior to the image coming out, you can still go back and check at least 3 or 4 other reviews that I've done, where I predicted that Mimosa would show up and use ultimate healing magic to save their lives. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly record this to let you guys know about the fact that the first leaked image is out, and by the time you're watching this, probably more images are out, so go look them up. So with Mimosa showing up to heal everybody, that takes care of one problem, but we still had a lingering problem of what's going to happen with Lord Patika and getting rid of the curses that turned her into a devil, or getting rid of her original curse. And I think when it comes to that, the solution would actually be the reintroduction for the first time post the time skip of Gordon. Because if you guys remember, the last time we saw Gordon was back in chapter 223, when we actually went with him to visit his family to learn more about curses, and we ended up finding out that his family has a strong connection to Megikula. Now, the last time we actually heard Gordon be referenced was when we found out that post the time skip, he actually stayed with his family in order to learn and study more about curses, so that he can be useful in the fight against the devils. And that right there is the reason why I believe in the next chapter he's going to play a major role in getting rid of the curses that are put on Lord Patika that turned her into a devil. Because we already know that Gordon and the rest of the Black Bulls that were in the Clover Kingdom when Asta left are already on their way, or might already be in the Spade Kingdom as we speak. And we know that basically there is no reason for Gordon to be a part of this arc if he's not going to play the role of actually using the knowledge he gained from studying with his family to cure curses. But with Megikula already defeated, there's no reason for him to actually be involved anymore because curses are no longer a thing. Curse magic was her thing, and we know that none of the other devils actually really use curses at all. So his knowledge isn't going to be relevant anymore, unless he is the one to use his knowledge of curse magic to cure Lord Patika of being a devil. And it would actually make perfect sense that he would have the knowledge to find a way to get rid of the spells or the curses that Megikula placed on Lord Patika, because as we found out back in chapter 223, the devil that his family used to worship before his dad's generation was actually Megikula, as we found out from his grandmother actually chanting her name. So by finding out that his family actually has a strong connection to Megikula, it would make sense that he would have the knowledge that would involve reversing her curses. And we've already seen that even with Asa's causality break, he cannot undo all the curses that Lord Patika currently has on her, at least not in his normal form. Perhaps in his Devil Union form that he could actually maybe use the ability to actually break all the curses that have been placed on her, but that would be burning a very, very precious resource when it comes to defeating the major devils. Because one thing we have to remember is the fact that Asa has only had his Devil Union for about a day so far. He still doesn't know the full extent of how many times he can use it in a single day. We know that he knows that he can use it for 5 minutes at a time and then have to take 30-minute interval breaks before he can use it again, but he doesn't know there's a limit to how many times in a single day he can use it just yet. And even if he doesn't have a limit to how many times he can use it in a single day, they still don't have the luxury of using it to heal Lord Patika and then having to wait another 30 minutes in order for him to be able to use it again to fight off against any other devil that might come through the gates. So if all the curses were now removed from Lord Patika with Megikula's death, then the only option for healing her would be to have Gordon show up and use his knowledge that he gained from training with his family to save her life. Plus, with Gordon and the rest of the Black Bulls finally showing back up, we will be one step closer to getting that shot of the entire Black Bull roster reunited once they rescue Captain Yami. But yeah guys, those are my predictions for chapter 304. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about this video, and if you have any of your own predictions for what's going to happen in the chapter. That's it for the video guys, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.